Bree more. Bree more production.
Hey, Lauren. Hey, Lauren. Hey, Lauren.
Bree more.
Hey, Lauren. Hey, Lauren.
Hello everyone, thank you guys so much for tuning in to the Bree More Productions YouTube channel. Today we have a special guest. His name is Verse Mega. He's based in Philly and he's a rapper with substance. And I'm so excited about interviewing him. I've been knowing him for a while now. You guys know, if you've been following me for a long time, you guys know that Philly is my second home and I miss Philly so much. Shout out to Philly. So it's only right that I interview him and learn more about his music and what he have going and what he have planned for the future. So make sure you tune in. And also at the end of the conversation, make sure you join us and leave a comment below. Like and share. Go stream his music. Support. Peace. Hey, I see you with your I Nerd shirt on.
Yeah. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. How are you?
I'm well. How are you?
We good. We had a very good day today. It
Good.
was very peaceful. How was your day today?
It was good. Yesterday was a little rough trying to get the logistics of this single released, but things seem to have come together today, so no complaints.
What is the new single about? What's the name of it?
The new single is Justice Now, and it is me and my partner on the project, a producer named In The Beats. Years ago, when it's a shame, I want to say Eric Garner.
Wait. Let's introduce you because this is pre-recorded before we go in too deep because we got to get started. I would like to introduce you to Jade first. She's the conversationist on the Bree More Productions team.
Cool.
Jade, say hi to Bert. Bert, say hi to Jade.
Hi. How are you?
I'm well. How are you?
And
I'm great. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too.
And he's based in Philly.
I'm an Eagles fan.
Hey.
Are you really?
Are you in Dallas?
Yeah, I'm not from Dallas. I'm originally from Louisiana, but I grew up in California.
But you're in Dallas and you're an Eagles. See that face right there? That face.
I didn't know that she was an Eagles fan.
I mean,
Yeah,
hey.
I am. I thought we talked about this with all of the
football out of
people.
it. We're going to leave football out of it.
No, I had no idea she was an Eagles fan. That was a...
Good people right there. That's what that is.
What? Okay. Anyways. Well, thank you so much for joining us on the Bree More Productions platform. I think this is like past due. For sure.
I can agree with that. Definitely.
So let's tell the people more about you, where you at, where you from, what you represent.
Sure. So it is Verse Mega, aka Verso. Raised in Philadelphia, born in Jamaica. Hip hop and reggae artist and union organizer. So my background is in psychology and social work, and I'm for the betterment of our people, and by default, all people.
Can you explain the use of the term "all people"?
So the term "our people," to me, as an immigrant, it's a little different, right? So we don't necessarily see, it's tribal, right? So if I was raised in Jamaica, then I would have a very Jamaican point of view. But being raised in Philadelphia, I'm forced to embrace more people who look like me. So I always say, if you're in the Caribbean, right, a Jamaican person and someone from Trinidad won't necessarily see themselves as the same.
Right.
But when we come to America, it's like y'all different. So being as, two foreigners in a foreign country, we kind of bond with each other closer. And I found that, that's kind of the same way that people act in general, right? So it could be a Black American and a white American. If you drop them in the middle of Italy and they don't speak Italian, they're going to be like, we're American now.
Yeah, yeah,
You know
yeah.
what I mean? It's
Yeah.
so when I say our people, I start with those who look, act, sound like me, kind of go through the same experiences, but it doesn't necessarily know boundaries until other people put those divisions up.
That makes sense. Do you believe that is the solution to racism?
No.
No.
Mm-mm. The
What would you
solution
say
to
the solution
racism,
is?
the solution to racism is for it to not matter. So if you can establish your own identity and power, people can dislike you all they want. If you remove their power from it, it doesn't matter. Your prejudices, feel how you feel. Just treat me the way you're supposed to.
Right. You actually mentioned that in one of your songs. I think is it Scared? It's you actually have it on YouTube.
Oh, scared of the dark?
Scared of the Dark. And you mentioned racism isn't a goal, it's a tool.
Mm-hmm.
Can you elaborate?
So it's a somewhat unpopular opinion, but slavery, in my opinion, was not about race. It was economic. So race was used to justify enslaving a group of people to really maximize profit. And this country has held on to those beliefs for so long that now people are conditioned to believe in those things. But I don't think that the people who are really in charge care much about your race at all, as long as they have somebody to subjugate and use. So I don't think racism is the goal. I don't think the goal is to actually, right? The goal isn't to divide, the goal is to conquer. The division is the tool.
I do feel like there's like a racial war happening right in front of us, which has always been prominent, but I think now it's definitely like highlighted. And it's definitely making everyone look at each other weird, because just the other day I was just in the parking lot and a white guy asked us a question, but it seemed like he was afraid to even talk to us during this time. And I'm like, is that really the temperature of social life now, that we can't even?
So okay, it's weird because that could be racial and it could be COVID at the same time. Like there's an ancient Chinese curse that says, may you live in interesting times. And God, I wish life was boring right now. Like, man, the first global pandemic and the first widespread riot, like, I'm old enough to remember Rodney King and the LA riots, right? Like, but that was LA. Everybody watched LA. Now it's like it's on everywhere. And it's very, very different. Now on the same hand, I'm not necessarily being critical. I understand it. But it's like, you know, Drake said, what a time to be alive, but I don't think he was talking about this. Like, sheesh.
As a union worker, and let's talk about that. It's working within the government, right? Am I correct?
Not exactly, no. My union is not.
It's a third organization.
Say it again.
Is it a third organization? Third party organization?
No.
Okay, let's talk about.
So, okay. All a union means is that people who work and it can happen anywhere. People who work at a certain job come together and decide that they want to bargain a contract that represents all of them, as opposed to being independent contractors. So you come in, you can take this job or leave this job. You have the right to quit. They have the right to fire you anytime they choose. All a union at its core is everybody stepping together and saying, no, we want to negotiate our wages, our work conditions, and so forth. So I actually work for the service sector. It's not the government directly. And in Philadelphia here, I help run the airport division of our union. So the folks who clean the planes, push the wheelchairs, carry the bags, that sort of thing.
So how is this affecting the riots and the racial war that's going on, coronavirus? How is this affecting the union right now that you're working for?
So the coronavirus
what are you exposed to? What do you see from the lenses of working in this condition?
So the coronavirus was first, obviously, and that was the unemployment, right? People getting laid off left and right, and us as a union pushing as much as we possibly can with our political power to get things like that First Care Act, right? Like we represent service employees, mostly Black and brown people. And initially, the airlines were asking for about $50 billion of a bailout. And they played this trick. So we represent subcontracted workers, which means that you might get off a plane for American Airlines and say you need a wheelchair. You think that when you sit in the wheelchair, the person pushing you works for American Airlines. They don't. They work for a company that American hired. So we represent those workers. What happened was American applied for the bailout, right? Asked the government for the bailout, and the government said, okay, but you can't lay off your workers. And American said, cool, we won't. But then they were going to turn around and lay off all of our people. You know what I mean? That was the loophole. So that was the initial fight. It was pretty tense at first, but we actually got our workers probably about $34 billion between mainly through unemployment, right? The extra 600 that people are getting. We pushed really hard on that, and we're pushing really hard now to get this next the HEROES bill pushed through Congress that would pay people hazard pay who have to go to work, the essential worker pay. So
it's well deserved. Is there any anything that's been told in the media that you believe is false, that you have seen regarding the coronavirus and this whole racial tension?
I can't say that I believe it's false. It's been so fluid, right? 1 minute masks were not working. Next minute, everybody needs to wear a mask. I saw something yesterday, like asymptomatic people don't really pass it, so masks maybe not. Who knows? Who knows? It's a ton. I'll put it this way. I'm not the traditional conspiracy theorist. I don't really have the, people do the research and you can fall down any rabbit hole on the internet if you get into it. I'm a simpleton of a conspiracy theorist. Conspiracy theory goes like this. Bree, if me, you, and Jay say we want to get together and create a plan to help us move forward, we've just conspired with each other, right? That is the definition of a conspiracy.
Right.
Why would we believe that if people as simple and normal as us can conspire with each other, that people who have power and influence are above conspiring with each other to further their power or influence? So I don't dismiss conspiracy theories, but I also try not to drive myself crazy with figuring them out. At the end of the day, I know people who, thankfully, no one that I know personally has passed from COVID, but I know people who have lost parents, siblings, loved ones. So conspiracy theory or not, it's real.
Right.
People are actually dying. So, whatever we can do to keep ourselves safe until, we get on the other side of this, I say we do it.
And what do you think that the other side is going to look like, coming out of all of this, as far as Corona, as far as these riots and everything? What do you think is going to look like on the other side of this?
I can only look backward to look forward. So judging from history, I can tell you that when 9/11 happened and the airline industry kind of took a hit, we saw TSA get created. So I feel like we're probably going to see some sort of medical version of TSA get created, where in order to get on a plane, you have to get your temperature scanned or you have to go through some sort of thermo machine. I feel like a lot of the things that we took for granted before, I'm actually already starting to see people embrace just socialization in a different way. Mm-hmm. I have a child just short of 2 years old, and thankfully he hasn't had to go to like daycare or anything like that yet, but he had regular play dates. We went to a family daycare just to socialize him with other kids, and that has been missing for all of these months. So I'm more curious to see how the kids who are pre-K, kindergarten right now, who are now cut off from their regular social norms, kind of adapt to that. You know what I mean? We do know kids are very adaptable, so this is the only normal that they really know as of right now. I think it's going to be more of an effect on us that are used to doing things different. As an artist, I'm wondering what a concert's going to look like.
Right.
I'm wondering when and how people become comfortable traveling again. In my work, I do, large group meetings. I'm wondering how that's going to happen. Is it going to be these Zoom meetings all the time that I've been in for? I'm sick of Zoom.
I hope not.
I'm sick of Zoom meetings.
Really though.
I am. I appreciate this because y'all in Dallas, we probably would have been like this anyway. This is the dope kind of
right.
how it was meant to be used, but every day for the person that lives around the corner from me is ugh.
Nah, I don't like it. I told you in the inbox. I was like, man, I miss Philly. Do you know how many times I would have been in Philly by now?
Yeah.
Like it's torture.
Yeah.
Let's talk about mascots.
Okay.
The first thing that you said is, do you have what it takes to represent where you come from?
Mm-hmm.
What exactly do you mean when you say that?
All right. So when as I was writing the song, it occurred to me that people might assume that I'm being derogatory toward the term mascots by calling someone a mascot.
Mm-hmm.
And I added that ad lib because I need people to understand being a mascot in and of itself is not the bad thing, right? You have to achieve a certain level of influence, visibility to be the mascot. Like, even if you're, your local college team or your high school team's mascot, you have to show that you can entertain a crowd. You have to show that people want to watch you. So I put it this way. Snoop Dogg was the biggest mascot for the Crips I've ever seen. Martin Luther King Jr. was the biggest mascot for the Civil Rights Movement.
Mm.
It is the singular person that shows you a look, a way of speaking, a music, a dance move. Like, it is all of those things that sell a lifestyle or an idea. And do you have what it takes to sell your people or sell a lifestyle or an idea to where you come from?
Because almost like a lobbyist.
Yes, very much like a lobbyist. The rest of the song really focuses on, are you in control of what you're selling?
Yes.
Or is someone else in control of it?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Because you also stated IG models turning into executives.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, are we throwing shade? Are you just being honest about our reality? Okay. I'm
literally saying, thank you. This is a great thing to have you two in particular. There are crazy mixed messages being sent to young women right now.
Okay.
So, time's up, Me Too, girl power, girls run the world. Cool, I'm with all of that. But then we go into quarantine and all I hear is OnlyFans.
Yes.
So you're empowering me, but then you're also telling me that at the end of the day, I can still just sell my body. I can still be objectified. So when I said IG models turn to marketing execs, it is IG models in the traditional form of women being seen as sex objects, but actually being empowered to turn that into a legit business at this point that some people have a hard time reconciling. Some people still want to say, well, selling your body is selling your body. And it still, in a way, boils down to controlling female sexuality. But if you're marketing yourself, if you're getting endorsements, if you are setting your own parameters, and IG models in particular, because the modeling industry itself has not been as all-inclusive to body types, to shades, to
Right.
different cultural backgrounds, but you yourself can take your own IG following, create your own following, and then market to, you know, a business or a brand that would want to, what they call now, brand ambassadors, or, you know, there are all sorts of different ways of going about it. So no, it's not shade. The whole song is shady. The whole song is shade, and the whole song is also enlightenment or empowerment. It really boils down to how you decide to use your status as a mascot, or if you choose to be one or not.
Because I also noticed that you utilized a white man, and I'm guessing the character you were playing with the gold teeth is a average hip hop rapper, right?
So that character is called Who Mega, and it is based on being able to say, like, literally, this is a costume, right? Like,
right.
When I put it on, everybody was like, yo, you are like a hairdo away from a legit Southern rapper. And in all things, you have the trendsetter. I'm not even going to call it the real. You have the trendsetter that shows that something is marketable. And then you have people who either jump on that bandwagon, or you have people who were that to begin with and now have an opportunity to become popular because that trend has been set. So very often the person who actually popularizes the trend isn't the one who started it, but they're the ones who bring it to light. The white guy character, big shout out to my homie Johan, who is an incredible producer, Johann Sebastian, but he played a character called Cells, right? So he literally represents like the prison industrial complex in saying, I'm going to promote you selling things that we know in real life lead to incarceration.
Okay, that makes sense.
But
that's why the guy was catching the bags of drugs and the money. Okay.
Exactly. And I'm just there like, I will sell anything. I'll sell him, I'll sell me, I'll sell her, I'll sell I won't lie, I took a shot at Love and Hip Hop, selling the drama, right? Selling the ratchet.
Yes. Okay, with them fighting. Gotcha.
Yeah. So I'm not saying I endorse all mascots. Like there is some stuff that I'm not down with, and I took shots at it. But at the same time, those are my opinions. They reflect me and me alone. It doesn't mean that I have the right answer, and some good can still come of that, right? Like if I'm talking to a young person who's like third generation in the projects, and they just got an opportunity to be on TV, but they have to sell this negative image, who am I to tell them to choose don't sell this negative image, but stay in a situation that might literally mean more danger to you? You know what I mean? Like I just want people to think and make their own decisions consciously. That's really what that song is about at the end of the day. I mean, honestly, it's what the whole album is about.
So who you think have more control? The mascot or the investor that invests in the mascot?
Depends. I've seen both. Traditionally, it's the investor. It's a little different now because of your ability to market yourself, to brand yourself as an individual. There was a time where, as an artist, your record label owned your name. Your record label owned your image. Your record label owned, I mean, like besides just your royalties, right? Like if you remember in the movie What's Love Got to Do with It, Tina Turner fought for the name Tina Turner.
Right.
She was like, you can have what, I don't care about anything else. Give me my name. Because she knew that she could market herself as Tina Turner moving forward. She didn't want to start over with something else, right? This is why Prince became the artist for a while, because he was like, how do you know what I mean? At that point, it was really about the investor. Now it's very different, right? Now we see independent artists. We see artists who sign 360 deals. Like, look at Meg Thee Stallion. She's pushing back against the deals that she signed now, but it's because she's more empowered to do so in this time. And you don't really need a label in the same way. Don't get me wrong. The marketing machine behind the label helps immensely. The more people you can be put in front of, the better. The kind of trick to it is getting in front of as many people as possible, but not selling too much of your leverage in order to do it, so that you keep a solid percentage of your actual work, your actual art. And at the end of the day, you're able to continue to keep going, right? For years, they called Puff Daddy like the paper gangster, because after you leave Puffy, like your music ain't coming out no more.
Wow.
Like you're done. So in a situation like that, the investor is very much the person more in control. But if you look at Ludacris, if you look at T.I., if you look at the Locks, D-Block, if you look at Beanie and State Property, there's always kind of this hierarchy where you either sign to somebody and you're just the artist. Nothing against that. You just have to understand what that position is. Or you can kind of be your own label and move on in a different way. So it really just depends. What's most important is people educating themselves as much as possible about those instances. And from a psychological background, I'll compare it to this. Have you ever been through a timeshare presentation?
Yes, when I was like 10, probably.
Mm-hmm. So there are these sales pitches that people use, and there's psychological theory behind them. That first I tell you, here's this offer, right? And if you turn that offer down, I'm going to make you another offer, but I'm going to put some condition on it. So this offer expires within the next hour. You don't tell me within the next hour the offer goes away, right? People in positions of power use those sorts of opportunities to leverage people who they feel like they can, because it's like, all right, if you're a young kid or if you've been struggling out here and I'm offering you this deal, I need to get the most out of it, the most profit. I'm looking for the most profit, period. So if I can get you to sign a deal that's going to favor me, I'm going to push you to sign it, right? I'll tell you something like, hey, you know what? I'm only in town for the next day. I need to hear something today or the deal's off the table. And that's how a lot of people feel forced or compelled to signing those situations. So it's a combination of feeling like, one, you're educated, and two, having enough faith that your talent means that this is not the last opportunity that's going to come.
Right.
It's not easy, because the truth is you're not guaranteed another opportunity. So, yeah. I don't know if I'm helping anybody right now.
Yes, you are.
Yeah, you are. You definitely are. You definitely
What
are.
is your solution? What are you doing? Because I noticed that you have a platform on your website, versemega.com, but I also seen Hooflix. What exactly is Hooflix?
So Hooflix was when I was thinking about how to promote the project, which is You Are Who Do You Think You Are. It kind of just jumped to me, right? The project is about programming, and if you notice how Netflix works, it creates an algorithm that suggests other things that you might like. So if you look at someone's Netflix page, it kind of informs you of at least what that person is entertained by, and therefore what type of person they might be. So that's really what the Hooflix thing was. But as far as having my own platform and my solution to, I don't know, how to navigate the business from what I see, it is, first of all, stabilizing yourself, right? And this isn't just music industry or business advice, in my opinion. It's actually what I tell everybody, period, in relation to life in general, because it also has a huge impact on how we behave in relationships, right? If you are a stable human being, you know, a lot of people like, I'm looking for my other half, I'm looking for something to complete me.
Yeah.
I don't really ascribe to that. I feel like you're a complete person and you look for someone, or you find someone who complements, who's also complete themselves, but then complements you.
Yeah.
And then it kind of eliminates the weird power dynamics that can happen between people, from friendships to love interests to business interests on down the line. So if I'm stable as a human being, like I'll say right now, I never have to blow up as a rapper. My family's taken care of. So I'm less likely to jump at a bad contract situation because I don't necessarily need it. It's not saving me from, you know, some sort of life that I'm trying to get away from. So the more we can do to stabilize ourselves, whether that be through education, entrepreneurship, basic budgeting, right? Changing your perception to say, I'm going to live below my means. So no matter how much I make, I'm going to spend less than that, so that I'm never struggling, right? Or, you know, changing perception. Do I need the latest fashion? Do I need the hottest new Jordans as soon as they drop? Do I need the newest label? Or do I find something that fits my style and then I actually make that style look cool? It's different. So that's really the solution that I'm trying to push to people. But it starts with defining yourself and becoming comfortable by your own definition.
I love that.
Yeah, that's really dope. That's really dope. So I wanted to ask you, what would be your definition of woke or conscious?
My definition of woke or conscious. All right, so I consider most of us to be sleepwalking. I feel like the majority of us are taught to accept the world as it comes.
Jay say that all the time.
Huh?
I said, Jay, she said that all the time. She call it, what you say? You say zombies?
The Walking Dead.
Oh, the Walking Dead. Yeah.
Yep. So for me, woke or conscious doesn't mean that you necessarily have a certain way of thinking. It just means that you actually question the things that are being sold to you or taught to you or told to you, and consciously decide how you feel about them, right? You consciously decide, do I want to wear this hairstyle? Do I want to wear this type of clothing? Do I want to listen to this type of music? Or am I just doing it because I'm told that's what I'm supposed to do? So that's the simplest way for me to put it.
Okay, so kind of being a free thinker.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Now, would you say a lot of people are kind of, with all of this information that's coming out now, do you feel like a lot of us are kind of just jumping on a trend, or do you really feel like people are actually coming into their own awareness?
I think both are happening, and I think both are somewhat necessary. I think as children, you I have a friend who says you're born who you are, and then you're taught how to act. I feel like he's a deep brother. His name is Ronan Ali. Okay, let's get a little bit spiritual. A little bit. A lot of people believe that energy doesn't die or or get born, so that all energy on earth has always been here. So depending on your, this is a vessel that I've come back in this time, right? So I was already that. Now I have to deal with the time period that I was born in. So my parents are here to keep me safe long enough to develop in order to be able to be independent. And in order to do that, there's certain things that you can't let a child decide on their own, right? Some people believe in free range raising their kids and they let their children decide. I'm not one of those people. I feel like it's your job to keep them safe. So there is a certain degree of programming, right? There's a certain degree of teaching your child about belief systems, right from wrong, and all of those things. But eventually, that child has to learn how to independently make up their mind for themselves. I feel like when Jay, you talk about The Walking Dead and I talk about people who are sleepwalking, very often we're still kind of in this perpetual childhood where we're not yet comfortable making up our own minds. So instead of saying, let me interpret what's being said to me, figure it out, and then decide what I want to do with that information, we replace our parents with a different, whether that be a religion, a politician, a job, a boss. We just replace that influence with another influence. I'll speak from the young male perspective, not being all that young anymore, but I definitely still remember it. Young men in particular are pretty heavily influenced by the pursuit of women. So whatever we are taught gets you the girl is what we kind of fall in line with. And if you really look at a lot of older men right now, they're still doing the things that would get them the young girl. And that's what throws things off. They still haven't said, okay, how do I actually feel about clothing? How do I actually feel about the type of woman that I'm supposed to go after? How do I actually feel about what I want in life, right? Some people get married and have children because they're told that's what they're supposed to do.
Right.
It's not necessarily because it's what they want to do. And
No.
other people you'll see, you know, there are all sorts of different types of relationships now. People have thruples and polyamory and all sorts of different, you know, configurations. I feel like as long as you're consciously making those decisions, they can work. Where we run into trouble is where you're following a script that you think has been put out for you, and then something internally doesn't agree with that script. And that's where those conflicts come in. So, yeah.
You are brilliant.
Thank you.
Yes, amazing perspective.
I think, and to me, it just makes sense. So, what are your goals as a music artist since your family is set up and you don't have to pursue the traditional label and you're an independent artist? What are your goals as an artist?
So right now, my goal is to prove that I was here. As weird as that sounds. Like I said, I have a baby boy right now, and a little while ago, my DJ said to me, like, yo, you don't want him to hear about what you used to do. Like, oh no, your dad used to be dope, but there's like no evidence of it.
Right.
So there's the desire to make my mark that way. I recently came to the most humbling, arrogant, artistic epiphany I've ever had, where I've become comfortable with calling myself a great rapper, like saying I'm one of the greats. And not saying I'm, you know, every rapper is kind of trained to say I'm the best rapper ever, right? Like first single and I'm already the best rapper ever. I don't mean that. I mean, if we did a sports analogy, if there was a way to statistically measure rapping and you applied like, say, points, assists, rebounds, but to like syllables, vocabulary, rhyme schemes, writing the beat, like I believe myself to be technically great at those things. And then there's my perspective on top of it, right? So having a psychology degree, having the experience of being a social worker, and now being a union organizer, I'm able to make songs that no one else can make. So my goal is to make that as popular as possible and find the audience that's looking for that. So if I can do those two things, then ultimately I do want to be a mascot. I want to be a mascot for saying, think about this world on your own terms, make your own decisions about it. And if I can influence, like what we do as union organizers, I've seen change lives, literally, right? Like I've seen people go from minimum wage, which in Philly is $7.25 an hour, to almost $14 an hour in 2 or 3 years. So I've seen people who were carpooling or taking SEPTA by cars. I've seen people go from renting a room in a house to, you know, renting their own apartment, or, you know, saving up toward buying their own house, to being able to put their kids in the schools that they want to put them in, as opposed to the neighborhood school that they have to go to. So for me, the art is just another way of spreading that kind of influence, if at all possible. So that would be the goal.
That's a beautiful goal. Okay, so how would you like for people to listen to your music and watch your videos?
So versemega.com is the experience that we have put together for people. It is the most kind of complete visual audio way of doing it, but we know people listen and, you know, stream and download on whatever service they do. So for me, the best would probably be Bandcamp, but literally stream, download on anything that you know, listen to music on. YouTube is where most of the video content is.
Is it also on Tidal? Because I was looking for it.
It should be.
Maybe I typed in your name wrong or something.
Yeah, it should be available on Tidal as well.
So it's streaming on all streaming platforms.
Mm-hmm.
But I think we also need to get people to go to your website as well.
Definitely. So yes, go to versemega.com. Spelled just the way it sounds, versemega.com. Download on Bandcamp if you're open to it, because that's the biggest share that actually goes to the artist, not just for me, literally anybody that you're supporting their music. If you can, download on Bandcamp, and, you know, otherwise stream or download wherever you're comfortable.
I have one more question for you.
Mm-hmm.
How do you feel being a rapper with substance and the type of music that's being played on major platforms and radio is like, it doesn't have no substance almost? How do you feel about that?
I have evolved to not care. Like, it is what it is. I grew up in a very keep it real, literally like backpack versus commercial kind of clash of rappers. And again, I've always been, I'm going to think through things before I just accept how I'm supposed to feel. So I knew that way of thinking was off when I had to argue with some of my backpack friends who are not the best rappers about Jay-Z being whack. And I'm like, you're dumb. Like, you can say you don't like his music, but don't tell me he can't rap. Like, what are you talking about?
Right.
He's better than, at that point, I'm like, he's better than me. He's better than you. He's better at rapping than us. Right? There are some of us who've pushed and continued and can make an argument right now, but his catalog is crazy. You're going to tell me that because he was commercial that it's not good music? I always used to say, I prefer if you show me two works of art, right? And one of them is a stick figure picture of Jesus, and the other one is like a anime picture of the devil, I'm going to tell you that the anime devil is a better piece of art. So how I feel about what's on the radio is that it's just not for me. And that's okay. I feel like if more of us would just embrace that and say, I'm going to find the stuff that is for me, it's there.
It is.
But we are, especially like my generation, we're used to turning on the radio and hearing something that is for us, right? Like I remember turning on the radio and hearing Busta Rhymes followed by NWA, then A Tribe Called Quest, then like Snoop Dogg, like Wu-Tang, and you know, it was all being played at the same time. Now it feels like everything is turn up and pills. And you can't find the rest on the radio, which just says to me that you got to go somewhere else. You got to go to the internet. You got to go to satellite radio and find the places where, you know, the type of music you like to hear is being played. I'll give this one last story, right? Years ago, I had a friend who was a photographer, big homie Ty Chien, and Ty had a photo shoot in New York. He asked me to drive him. All right, no problem. I show up and we go to Dame Dash's house. So, and Dame Dash is Dame Dash. Like, that's not an act, that Harlem persona that's who he is, right? Better or for worse, it's who he is. He was cool, but he was Dame. So on the radio, on the way to his house, my friend had fallen asleep. I'm just listening to the radio, and at the time, Jay and Dame had this falling out, and Angie Martinez was interviewing Mos Def, and Mos Def said, "Shout out to Dame Dash, that's a good dude." And Angie Martinez was like, "Whoa, you can't say that." So when we got to Dame's house, I was like, "Yo, you know, it's funny. I just heard your name on the radio. You know, Mos Def said shout out to you, and you know," and he's like, "They was talking about me? Why are you talking about me?" Like that kind of. And I was like, no. You know, Mos Def was like, "No, he's a good dude," and he was like, "Oh, for real? We about to go have dinner with him." And I'm like, "What's happening right now? Like what?" And he's like, "Yeah, we about to go around the corner. Y'all coming?" Yeah, we're coming. Yeah, we're coming. So we're sitting at a dinner table with Dame Dash, Mos Def, a couple of their friends, and their daughters. And their daughters are down at the end of the table playing with each other because they're friends, because they play with each other all the time. And this was like a Twilight Zone, because this is the poster boy for like the Keep It Real Backpack Raucous Records era, and like the dude who pours champagne on girls on yachts in the video, like the definition of that, like.
Balance.
But when you actually talk to both of them, it made perfect sense. They're perfectly good friends. I feel like in real life, we have a lot more in common than we do that separates us. But there's a lot of those things that keep us apart. So even the people who are on the radio, who are making music that has no substance, doesn't mean that that's how they actually feel. In some cases it is, right? Sometimes it's a kid who hasn't experienced much, and that literally is all they know. But in some cases, like 2 Chainz makes that music, but he's a college graduate. He's a very, very brilliant business mind. Mm-hmm. It's just that that's not what gets promoted. And we can talk about why that's the case another time.
No, we can talk about it now. Why is that not promoted?
It's not popular. It is not what is, and it's not popular by choice. Those in power are not looking to empower you. That doesn't keep them in power. So it's easier for them to promote 2 Chainz as, you know, carefree trap music than to promote him as someone who, I'm not going to say failed as an artist, but had to recreate himself as an artist, right? I remember when 2 Chainz was Titty Boy from Play It Circle, and it didn't work. He was able to reinvent himself, come out and master his business to a different way, to where it's almost like we didn't like Titty Boy, so Play It Circle didn't work. It don't matter if you like 2 Chainz or not. It's going to work right now. Rick Ross went through the same thing. Rick Ross was the chubby dude with no beard, with the little baby afro in the back of Slip and Slide videos. But he could always write. Always was a good rapper. He just didn't have the package that was able to be sold. He found that mark, he found that image and put some marketing behind him, and we see what happened. But only now you're starting to hear about the Wingstops and the different business ventures that he has. You're seeing him be celebrated for signing different artists, but you don't get anywhere near the detail on how that happens as you get on, like, I'm a boss. I'm talking to this plug and that plug, and I sell these drugs and shootouts with this and shootouts with that, because, you know, the keys to success are not going to be handed to you. If you're in a competition with somebody, they're not really going to help you get better at competing. Right. So yeah, that's why. Like, I remember I love 50 Cent interviews. I love his music, but I'm not like as big a fan of his music because I recognize what he's doing. His first biggest hit, In the Club, right? You find me in the club, bottle full of bub, mama, I got the X if you into making love or whatever. But if you actually listen to 50 or any of the people around him, they'll tell you he doesn't go out, he doesn't drink, he doesn't do any drugs. So he's the most disciplined one, and he's the most successful businessman. But he's selling you what you want to hear to party. He's selling you that image.
Lifestyle, yep.
Yep.
Because I know something about him too. Every single interview, I feel like he dropped the book that he's reading at the time.
Mm-hmm.
He always like, yeah, in business books I've read, but you don't say nothing like that in your music. You don't say that you're reading anything in your music.
I mean, 50 Cent will tell you that he's become this powerful and this successful by not being afraid to ask, not being afraid to admit that he doesn't know, and surrounding himself with people who know more than he does. Right? So he'll give you those keys, but is that going to happen in a song? Nah. Like, that's not what people buy.
Yeah.
That's not what the people who he was originally marketed to buy. So that's not what he's going to sell.
Wow. Well, this was a very informative interview in a short amount of time that I think we explored a lot of deep conversations.
I definitely enjoyed it.
How can people follow you on social media?
At Verse Mega on everything: Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. Drop me a message on versemega.com. Yep.
Leave a comment.
Please leave a comment.
Share YouTube channel, the video.
The single that is out right now is very important to me. It is Justice Now. Verse Mega and In the Beats presents Justice Now. Please find that video on YouTube. Please share the video. Please download. A percentage of the proceeds are going to go toward bailing out protesters who are being arrested in this time right now.
Oh, we about to share that right now.
Yeah, we got to.
Yeah, we about to share that right now. But thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
No problem.
Thank you so much. I will send you the link and everything. This video is also going to be on YouTube. So make sure you share it. Let's
Absolutely
have this conversation in the comments as well. I know people are going to have something to say with everything we had to talk about.
I look forward to it.
Same. Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a nice night.
You too.
Peace.
Peace.